Hello, greetings from beautiful Boulder, Colorado. I am Damema Mann with National Research Center coming at you again from NRC's in-house studios here in Boulder. If you caught my first vlog, thanks so much for watching and thanks for tuning in again. If you haven't had a chance to catch my first vlog, please take a look. What the first vlog covered was basically going over 5 things that I love about the National Citizen Survey and why I'm passionate about the National Citizen Survey and how helpful it can be for local governments all around the country. What I wanted to talk about today was to zero in on one of those facets that I covered in my last vlog, and that is about the custom questions that you're able to include on the National Citizen Survey. So today I wanted to talk about 5 important things to know about custom questions on the National Citizen Survey, or the NCS as we call it. The first is just to briefly, what are custom questions? So one thing that I talked about before is that the NCS is a mostly templatized benchmarking survey. And the reason is so that we're able to create benchmarks for you. Most of the questions on the survey are standardized with some limited customizations available for your community. However, we have what we refer to as the custom questions section on the survey, and that's about 3/4 of a page allotted for questions that are completely specific to your community. And included in the basic service of the NCS are these custom questions. And there's 2 things to know about types of custom questions before I get into the next point. And that's that custom questions, the ones that are included on the basic service, are closed-ended custom questions, which means that the respondent is responding to the question and selecting from a menu of choices. For instance, excellent, good, fair, or poor. Could also be an agree, disagree scale or a support, oppose kind of scale, depending on the question you're asking. But that's the definition of a closed-ended question. The respondent has a menu of choices to pick from. An open-ended question is another type of add-on that you can add to the National Citizen Survey. And the open-ended question is where a respondent is writing in their own answer in their own words. For instance, responding to something like, what do you think should be the single biggest priority for your community in the next 2 years? And then they would write in whatever they thought, and we would give additional analyses and reporting for that. So in this vlog, I'm specifically talking about custom closed-ended questions that are included at no additional charge as part of the basic service. The next thing I'd like you to know about is that, I get this question all the time, is how many custom questions can we have? How many are included? And it really depends on the length of the custom question. I mentioned earlier there's about 3/4 of a page on the survey allotted for those custom questions. And so some of it has to do with survey real estate. We want to keep the survey to its 5-page length, both because that's kind of the sweet spot in terms of overall length. We wouldn't want a survey to be longer than that because it can harm response rate and really increase respondent burden too much. It also helps us keep costs low and at the typical quoted price. So that being said, about 3/4 of a page, it depends on the length of your questions, how many we can fit there. Typically, a good rule of thumb is to think about 3 different topic areas, perhaps, and start there. Sometimes questions are so long that maybe we can only fit 1 or 2. So it really depends. Sometimes we can fit 4 or 5 or even more. So, but a good rule of thumb is to come up with those 3 ideas, those 3 topics. Start from there. Your project manager will be happy to help you with that. The next question that comes up a lot is, how are these custom questions created and when are they created? And those are really important things to be thinking about. It's terrific if you're already thinking about topics, or perhaps you've already had some internal discussions about the kinds of custom questions you might want to include on the NCS before you even enroll. But really, the work on the questions with your project manager begins after you enroll and we officially start the project process. So it's terrific to already have those topics in mind, but I wouldn't recommend, coming in and thinking already that these questions that you've developed and maybe already worked on internally are going to be the end-all, be-all, because we want to help wordsmith those questions with you. We have been creating these kinds of questions for over 20 years here at NRC, and we have a huge wealth of knowledge about them, a library of questions we can share with you after you enroll. We also want to make sure that we help you wordsmith them, that the questions are worded neutrally, that we're using a response scale that's going to be actionable and help you get the most actionable data we can out of the question. And we also want to make sure that the question is asked in a really straightforward manner, that it's not over-educating a single survey respondent, and that we're not using insider jargon. Sometimes when you're close to an issue, it can be easy to kind of slip into the lingo that the experts use and local government experts like yourself would be using. But we want to make sure that your average resident can understand these questions. So it's really important that you give us the opportunity to vet those questions and work on them with you. The next question that comes up all the time is, what should we even ask? What topics should we pick? And again, that's really up to you in terms of what's going to be most useful for your community. Sometimes jurisdictions want to ask about a hot topic issue. Maybe there's something that keeps coming up in a council meeting and there's a group of really active and vocal citizens saying this is the most important thing that we need to focus on. But you want to kind of put that out there to the whole community and see, is that really how the community as a whole feels about this issue? Is this really what we should be focusing on, or is this the voice of a vocal minority? So it can be good that way. It can be great to test the waters for a ballot issue, a bond initiative. If you're thinking about a change in service level during the Great Recession, in 2008-ish time, remember those belt tightening times? We asked a lot of questions that had to do with service reductions and where residents would tolerate service reductions and where they wouldn't as cost-saving measures for local governments. So it can be a great tool that way. So once you enroll, if you're kind of stuck, if you might have an idea, we can help flesh that out for you. If you really don't even know where you want to start with custom questions, like I said, we have a library of them that we can share with you. And then the other thing to remember about these custom questions is that they're optional. They're meant to be there to be helpful for you, but you don't even have to ask them. If you think it's just going to really gum up the process, if there's too many opinions going around, everybody wants their say, 12 different departments want to put one on, or you're really interested in fast-tracking the survey process and just getting things going really quickly, then you might decide that it's not for you to ask the custom questions. Of course, we hope you do if you think they're going to be helpful, which leads me to my last point, is how are they useful? I mentioned earlier that they can be used to test the waters for bond initiatives or mill levies or potential ballot issues, and they have been used successfully that way over and over again. The scientific survey has been able to help predict an outcome or several outcomes around the country. So jurisdictions have been able to use that real estate on the survey to ask questions that then indicate how the community as a whole feels about an issue. They then feel confident to put something on the ballot, which then has passed. They've used it to change service levels, to change, for instance, trash haul providers or trash haul schedules, cable service provisions, all sorts of things like that. So they're just one great tool that the NCS has to offer, and we are always happy to help you craft those once you sign up. So please feel free to reach out, take a look at our website, send us an email, and we're happy to answer any more questions you might have about it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next time.